The Sugar Saboteur, understanding your body's hidden enemy. You're listening to Your Space Today, the podcast where we decode fatigue, stress, and burnout so you can rise again. Every Tuesday, we explore the hidden connections between your habits, your health, and your happiness, giving you the tools to take back your energy and your life. Hey there, welcome to Your Space Today. Let me paint you a picture of something I see all the time in people who are doing everything right and still feel terrible. Picture this. You start your morning with a green smoothie. Spinach, kale, berries, mango, a splash of orange juice, some honey. You feel virtuous. You're drinking vegetables for breakfast after all. But by mid-morning, you're starving. By 11 a.m., you're fighting to keep your eyes open. After lunch, you crash hard, irritable, foggy, reaching for your third coffee. By evening, you're exhausted, cranky, and somehow still hungry despite eating all day. Sound familiar? Here's what might surprise you. That healthy smoothie probably contained more sugar than a can of Coke. And it's triggering a cascade of hormonal chaos that's sabotaging your energy, your mood, and your health all day long. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on sugar, not just the obvious stuff, but the hidden enemy lurking in foods you think are healthy. We're going to explore what's really happening in your body when you eat sugar, why you can't seem to stop craving it, and how it's systematically undermining all 4 pillars of your well-being. So grab your tea, green preferably, get comfortable, and let's dive in. Before we go any further, I need to mention something important. Everything we're discussing today is for educational purposes only. This isn't medical advice. Think of it as information to help you have better conversations with your healthcare provider. Let me tell you about Sarah. Every morning she blends what she proudly calls her green goddess smoothie. Spinach, kale, banana, berries, mango, orange juice, and organic honey. She feels great about it. By mid-morning, she's starving. By 11 a.m., she can barely keep her eyes open. After her healthy lunch salad with candied pecans, she crashes hard. At 3 p.m., desperate for energy, she grabs a protein bar. By evening, she's exhausted, cranky, and still hungry. Here's what Sarah doesn't know. She's consumed over 80 grams of sugar before dinner. That's roughly 20 teaspoons. And none of it came from obviously bad foods. Her breakfast smoothie alone? That banana contains about 12 grams of sugar. The berries and mango add another 15 grams. The orange juice contributes 10 grams. The honey adds 17 grams. We're at 54 grams before she's brushed her teeth. More sugar than in a can of Coke. But here's the critical part most people miss. When you blend fruit, you break the fiber into smaller pieces. The sugar can hit your bloodstream faster than if you'd eaten the fruit whole. Without intact fiber to slow absorption, that sugar hits Sarah's bloodstream like a tidal wave. And this triggers a cascade of problems that'll affect her entire day. Now, you might think I'm being dramatic when I say sugar is addictive. But this isn't hyperbole, it's neuroscience. Studies using functional MRI brain imaging show that when you consume sugar, the same reward centers light up as when someone uses cocaine. Both trigger massive dopamine release in the nucleus accumbens, your brain's primary reward center. Let me tell you about a striking experiment. Researchers gave rats a choice between a sugary drink and cocaine. Most chose the sweetness, even those already hooked on cocaine. It's a vivid illustration of how powerful sweet rewards can be, at least in animal brains. When researchers removed the sugar, these rats showed genuine withdrawal symptoms: anxiety, trembling, obsessive behavior trying to get more sugar. Princeton neuroscientist Bart Hobel, who conducted this research, concluded that sugar triggers addiction-like responses in the brain. Animal studies and brain imaging research in humans show the pattern clearly. Scientists still debate whether sugar qualifies as true addiction, but the evidence is compelling. Sugar causes behavioral changes. It alters brain chemistry. It creates tolerance. You need more and more for the same effect. And it produces withdrawal symptoms when removed. Now consider this. 2 centuries ago, the average person ate only a few pounds of sugar a year. Today, it's dozens of pounds, a massive jump by any measure. Our brains evolved over millions of years in an environment where concentrated sugar was incredibly rare. Perhaps a bee's nest discovered once or twice a year. Some seasonal berries, occasional ripe fruit. Our reward systems developed to make us seek out these rare, valuable energy sources. But our brains never evolved for a world where sugar is available 24/7 in virtually unlimited quantities. Engineered to be more rewarding than anything in nature. We're running ancient software in a modern environment. The results? Catastrophic. Here's what you need to understand. Sugar isn't just empty calories. It powerfully stimulates the brain's reward system. It trains your cravings. It makes it easy to keep coming back for more. Understanding that biology is the first step to breaking free. Let's follow Sarah through her morning and watch what's really happening inside her body. At 7 a.m., she drinks her smoothie. Within 15 minutes, 54 grams of sugar starts flooding her bloodstream. Her blood glucose skyrockets. This triggers panic mode in her pancreas, which pumps out massive amounts of insulin. Now, insulin is the key that unlocks your cells so glucose can enter and be used for energy. But insulin is also a storage hormone. When insulin levels rise, your body temporarily prioritizes energy storage over fat burning. You're in storage mode, not burning mode. By 7:30 a.m., Sarah feels amazing. She's riding a glucose high, energized, motivated, ready to conquer the day. But here's the problem. Her pancreas has overshot. All that insulin drove her blood sugar down too aggressively. By 9 a.m., her blood glucose has crashed below baseline. Now her body perceives this as an emergency. Blood sugar is fuel for your brain, and your brain doesn't like running low. So her body releases stress hormones, cortisol and adrenaline. These tell her liver to dump stored glucose into her bloodstream. But they also make her feel anxious, jittery, irritable, and hungry. That overwhelming urge to eat something, anything, it's not hunger. It's a hormonal emergency signal. She eats the overnight oats. Another spike. Another insulin surge. Another crash. This cycle repeats 5, 6, 7 times throughout her day. Each crash leaves her more depleted than the last. What feels like an energy crisis is really a blood sugar crisis. When you stabilize glucose, you stabilize energy, mood, and focus. Now, when you constantly bombard your cells with insulin, multiple times a day, day after day, year after year, something unfortunate happens. Your cells become numb to insulin signal. It's like living next to train tracks. The first week, every passing train startles you awake. By month 3, you sleep right through them. Your cells do the same thing with insulin. This is insulin resistance, the first step toward type 2 diabetes, fatty liver disease, and metabolic syndrome. Here's why this matters for energy and weight. When your cells are resistant to insulin, your pancreas produces more and more insulin to get the same effect. You end up with chronically elevated insulin levels. Remember, high insulin means you cannot burn fat. Sarah is eating in a calorie deficit, going to the gym 4 times a week, and she can't lose a pound. It's not because she's not trying hard enough. It's because her insulin levels keep her body locked in fat storage mode 16 hours a day. But sugar doesn't just mess with insulin. It wreaks havoc on your entire endocrine system. Leptin, your satiety hormone, stops working properly. Leptin tells your brain, we have enough stored energy, you can stop eating now. But high sugar consumption creates leptin resistance. Your brain stops hearing the I'm full signal. Ghrelin, your hunger hormone, increases. So you're not just unable to feel full, you're also feeling hungrier more often. You're fighting your own biology. Sex hormones become imbalanced. For women, high sugar intake has been associated with hormonal fluctuations that may influence PMS or conditions like PCOS. In one clinical study, men who drank a glucose solution saw their testosterone levels drop by about 1/4 for a couple of hours afterward. And your cortisol rhythm gets disrupted. Cortisol should be high in the morning to wake you up, gradually declining throughout the day. Lowest at night for sleep. Sugar-induced blood glucose swings create artificial cortisol spikes throughout the day and evening. This is why Sarah lies awake at 11 p.m. feeling simultaneously exhausted and wired. Think of inflammation as your body's emergency response team. When you cut your finger, inflammation rushes to the scene, increasing blood flow, bringing immune cells, starting the healing process. This acute inflammation is healthy and necessary. The problem is chronic inflammation, a state where your emergency response team never goes home. They just keep responding to a threat that never ends. Sugar creates this state through multiple mechanisms. First, when you consume sugar, your body produces inflammatory molecules called cytokines. Occasional sugar consumption isn't a problem. Your body handles it and returns to normal. But when you're consuming 60, 80, 100 grams of sugar daily, cytokine production never stops. You're in a constant state of low-grade inflammation. Second, sugar triggers advanced glycation end products, AGEs. When you have high blood sugar, glucose molecules stick to proteins in your body and form these AGEs. They're basically rust forming on your internal machinery. AGEs damage blood vessels, organs, and tissues throughout your body. They're particularly destructive to collagen and elastin, the proteins keeping your skin firm and elastic. Third, high sugar intake can disrupt the gut microbiome and weaken the integrity of the gut lining over time. Your intestinal wall should be a selective barrier, letting nutrients through while keeping partially digested food and bacteria out of your bloodstream. Sugar weakens this barrier, leading to increased intestinal permeability, commonly known as leaky gut. When your gut becomes permeable, food particles and bacteria escape into your bloodstream. Your immune system sees these as foreign invaders and attacks them. This triggers systemic inflammation throughout your entire body. Here's the vicious cycle. Inflammation damages your gut. A damaged gut creates more inflammation, which damages your gut further. It's self-perpetuating. Why does this matter? A large share of your body's immune cells live in and around the gut. When your gut is inflamed, your immune system is constantly activated. This leaves you vulnerable to every virus and infection. It's why Sarah catches every cold at the office and takes weeks to recover. But the gut connection goes even deeper. Around 90% of your body's serotonin is made in the gut, the same chemical that helps regulate mood, sleep, and appetite. Sugar can throw off your gut microbiome, feeding the wrong bacteria, disrupting the signals that help keep serotonin and your mood in balance. Research suggests a strong biological link between diet and mental health, especially through inflammation, hormones, and gut health. In one long-term study, men who regularly ate the most sugary foods were more likely to develop depression over time, about a 20+% higher risk. That's an association, not proof of cause, but the trend is hard to ignore. Another study published in Scientific Reports found that higher sugar consumption was associated with a 23% increased likelihood of incident mood disorders after 5 years, even after controlling for other dietary factors, exercise, smoking, and socioeconomic status. The mechanisms aren't mysterious. Sugar's effect on inflammation, gut health, blood sugar stability, and hormone production all directly impact brain function and mental health. When Sarah snaps at her coworkers, feels hopeless about her weight, and cries for no apparent reason, she's not being dramatic. Her brain chemistry has been disrupted by a metabolic problem. Your brain accounts for only 2% of your body weight, but uses about 20% of your glucose. It's an incredibly energy-demanding organ. Frequent blood sugar swings can make it harder for the brain to get steady fuel, a pattern that may feel like brain fog or mental fatigue. Research shows that high-sugar diets reduce production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF. That's a protein crucial for learning, memory formation, and neuroplasticity. Low BDNF is associated with depression and neurodegenerative diseases. Animal studies show that high-sugar diets actually impair hippocampal function, the part of your brain responsible for memory and learning. So, when you can't remember where you put your keys, can't focus on what someone is saying, or feel like you're thinking through fog, it's not early dementia or aging. It might be what you ate for breakfast. Diets high in added sugars can keep the body in a low-grade inflammatory state, the kind of simmering irritation that's been linked to heart disease, fatigue, and brain fog. Everything is connected. The inflammation that started with your breakfast smoothie isn't confined to one area. It's systemic, affecting your entire body. Now, I want to introduce you to something I call the 4 pillars framework. It's my attempt to synthesize the research into a coherent model that makes the hidden connections visible and understandable. Just so we're clear, this framework is for educational use only. It's not a diagnostic or clinical tool. The 4 pillars of well-being are fuel, movement, mind, and rhythm. These foundations work together, supporting each other like the legs of a chair. But sugar doesn't just weaken one pillar. It systematically undermines all 4, creating a cascade where each falling pillar pulls the others down. Let me walk you through this. Fuel, the nutrient depletion. The fuel pillar isn't just about calories. It's about providing your body with the nutrients it needs to function optimally. Sugar provides calories, but 0 nutrients. Worse, it actively depletes your nutrient stores. Processing sugar requires B vitamins, magnesium, chromium, and other micronutrients. Every time you consume sugar, you're spending these nutrients without replacing them. Magnesium deficiency alone, incredibly common in people eating high-sugar diets, contributes to muscle cramps, poor sleep, anxiety, irregular heartbeat, and fatigue. High sugar intake can shift your gut microbiome toward a less balanced state, reducing the abundance of beneficial bacteria. You have trillions of bacteria in your intestines performing crucial functions, producing vitamins, regulating your immune system, manufacturing neurotransmitters, protecting against harmful pathogens. When you feed these bacteria sugar, you're selectively feeding harmful species while starving beneficial ones. Over time, this leads to dysbiosis, an imbalanced microbiome that promotes inflammation and impairs nutrient absorption. Movement, when exercise feels impossible. Regular physical activity requires stable energy and healthy metabolic function. Sugar sabotages both. Those blood sugar crashes make consistent exercise nearly impossible. During a crash, your body literally cannot access stored fat for fuel because insulin is blocking it. And your blood glucose is too low to power activity effectively. Exercise feels torturous, so you skip it. The chronic inflammation sugar creates also affects your joints, tendons, and muscles. Recovery from workouts takes longer. You're more prone to injury. Movement becomes associated with pain, so you move less. There's another mechanism that's particularly insidious. Sugar impairs mitochondrial function. Mitochondria are the powerhouses of your cells. They convert fuel into ATP, the energy currency your body runs on. Chronically high sugar intake can stress mitochondria and make them work less efficiently over time. This is why Sarah feels exhausted even when she's well rested. Her cells literally can't generate energy efficiently anymore. Mind, the mental health crisis. The mind pillar encompasses your mental health, emotional stability, and cognitive function. Sugar creates mood swings through blood glucose volatility, but the damage goes deeper. The gut-brain axis, the communication highway between your digestive system and your brain, becomes disrupted when sugar damages your microbiome. This affects neurotransmitter production, stress response, and emotional regulation. Sugar also impairs your prefrontal cortex function. This is the part of your brain responsible for impulse control, decision-making, and rational thinking. When this area is impaired by blood sugar instability and inflammation, you make poorer choices, including eating more sugar. It's a self-reinforcing cycle. The worse you eat, the harder it becomes to make better choices. Rhythm, the sleep disruption. The rhythm pillar represents your daily habits and circadian health. High sugar consumption, especially later in the day, disrupts your sleep architecture. Sugar eaten in the evening interferes with melatonin production and prevents the natural cortisol decline that should happen at night. Even when you fall asleep, the quality is poor. Blood glucose fluctuations can wake you multiple times during the night. You never reach the deep, restorative sleep stages where physical repair happens and memories are consolidated. Poor sleep then drives more sugar cravings the next day. Sleep deprivation increases ghrelin, hunger hormone, and decreases leptin, fullness hormone. Studies show that sleep-deprived people consume an additional 300 to 550 calories the next day, primarily from sugary and fatty foods. You're trapped. Sugar disrupts sleep. Poor sleep increases sugar cravings. More sugar further disrupts sleep. This is the interconnected collapse. Each weakened pillar stresses the others. Sarah's high-sugar diet creates nutrient deficiencies and inflammation that make movement painful, so she becomes more sedentary. Lack of movement worsens her metabolic dysfunction. The metabolic dysfunction creates mood instability that damages her relationships and self-esteem. Her deteriorating mental state disrupts her sleep. Poor sleep further impairs her metabolism and intensifies her cravings. But here's the hopeful part. The same interconnectedness that creates the problem can also drive the solution. When you stabilize blood sugar, you don't just improve energy, you also reduce inflammation, which helps movement feel better, which improves sleep quality, which stabilizes mood. One change creates a cascade of positive effects throughout all 4 pillars. Awareness isn't about blame, it's about clarity. Once you see how sugar shapes your energy and emotions, you can start taking your power back. If you've recognized yourself in Sarah's story, you might feel overwhelmed. That's normal. But hear this, you're not broken or weak. You've been fighting a battle against a substance chemically engineered to override your natural satiety signals. The truth is, you're responding exactly as your biology is designed to respond. The solution isn't more willpower. It's changing your environment and understanding what's really happening in your body. Knowledge gives you leverage. Once you understand biology, you can work with your body, not against it. So here's what I want you to do. Take a brief moment for honest self-reflection. Before changing anything, simply observe. Ask yourself honestly, how many times today did I reach for something sweet, even a healthy option? Did I feel steady energy through the morning, or did I crash before lunch? When I felt tired or stressed, did I crave sugar for comfort? How many foods I thought were healthy actually contained added sugars? How did my mood and focus shift after those choices? For the next few days, notice how often sugar shows up in your meals, snacks, and drinks. Not to judge yourself, but to learn. We've created a free 5-day sugar awareness challenge you can download from the links below this podcast. It's a simple daily checklist that reveals your real sugar habits and helps you connect the dots between what you eat and how you feel. Remember, awareness always comes before transformation. You don't need to fix everything at once. Just start noticing. Patterns will begin to emerge. And with awareness, you gain power. In just 5 days, you may be surprised by what you discover. Then, when you're ready, you can begin making small, sustainable swaps. The kind that helps your energy, focus, and well-being return naturally. This isn't about perfection. It's about progress. It's about understanding that every food choice you make is either supporting your 4 pillars or undermining them. Every meal is a new opportunity to work with your body instead of against it. 6 months from now, you could wake up with real energy. Not the jittery, artificial high from sugar, but the steady, reliable vitality that comes from a body functioning as designed. Your mental fog could clear. That chronic pain might finally ease. Your mood could stabilize. Your relationships could improve. Your weight could normalize without calorie counting or misery. This isn't fantasy. These are positive changes many people report when they reduce added sugar intake. The path forward isn't easy, but it's straightforward once you understand what you're working with. Every sugary breakfast you skip, every whole food meal you choose, every craving you ride out instead of indulging, these aren't acts of deprivation. They're acts of self-respect. You're choosing long-term vitality over short-term pleasure. Sarah's story doesn't have to be your story. You can start right now. Not tomorrow, not Monday, not after the holidays. Right now. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Because let's be honest, the perfect moment never comes. You have to create it. Your future self, the one who wakes up refreshed, thinks clearly, moves without pain, and has energy left over for the things that truly matter, is waiting for you to take that first step. If you found value in today's episode, I'd really appreciate it if you'd share it with friends or family who might be struggling with similar issues. Sometimes understanding that we're not alone in this struggle and that there are real, science-based explanations for what we're experiencing, that knowledge alone can be incredibly empowering. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I'll see you next Tuesday with the next episode in this series, where we'll dive into a topic most people rarely think about, but one that's absolutely essential for our health and well-being. Until then, take care of yourself. You deserve it. Your Space Today is published weekly. For detailed information, disclaimers, and scientific references, visit the links below this podcast. This podcast is for educational purposes only and does not constitute medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult with your healthcare provider regarding any health concerns.